Hi there guys, it's Joey and this is a seasonal altar update for the Celtic Ogham month of Fern or Alder, and it also incorporates the energies of Ogham Alder into the setup as well, which is the Spring Equinox, but it's the druidic form. Starlet is a modern twist on it, I guess, and I was more interested this year about how the druidic practice really engages with the Spring Equinox, although it is obviously more of a modern form of druidism, you know, but still, I was more interested in that, and I've been teasing this altar cloth, so I'm super excited to show you, and it's so different. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, think pink. I freaking adore this altar cloth. It's a little bit steampunky. There are lots of crows here. There are some spider webs and there are skulls, as well as the portrait of here. Lovers, I guess you could say. So there you go. So let's talk about it before we talk about the rest of the setup and why it is what it is. Okay, so I wasn't feeling the usual Spring Equinox energies and decorations. Now don't get me wrong, I can glitter it out with the best of them, trust me. But like the chicks and the eggs and it wasn't quite where I was at this year, and I was like, I needed to have a sit down and think, like, okay, what's going on? Why my energy's not feeling that sort of fluffy, chicky star stuff? Because I have my traditional pillar candles, which are green with the hairs, and it wasn't clicking. And so I sat and really meditated on it, and I came across this altar cloth and I was like, does that work? I mean, is pink colour of Spring Equinox? And it is listed as a colour of the Spring Equinox under some people's pages. I mean, it's one of these subjective things, I think. Generally speaking, it's greens and purples and whites and yellows. But I could not connect to that greeny, whitey, yellowy colour theme this year. I just couldn't get there. And when I started to really sit and think about it, I realised it's because the Spring Equinox is so tied to the energies of the alder tree and the alder ogham. They're intricately linked. You cannot separate them. And alder is this much more aggressive masculine energy, and for anyone going, pink masculine, the colour pink was originally associated with males, with boys, and blue with girls before it got swapped in the Victorian period, I think. So there's that. And alder is a mixture of fire and water energies, so red and blue, so like somewhere between the two. I mean, you can make arguments for purple there, obviously, as that's the actual colour, but if you were going a few shades lighter, you could get to a pink. But more importantly than that, the alder tree, when cut and then when it dries, fades to a pinky red colour, and the alder tree is also used for dye, and you get a red or a pink depending on what you're creating. And then there was the final element which tied all of this into what I wanted, which is the primal force energy of birth, which obviously comes into your star rituals. You have babies being born, you have the egg symbolism, right? And what is actually ripping through the egg, ripping through the earth for seeds to burst into life? It's much more of a primal, aggressive warrior energy than a lot of the modern stuff sort of glosses over it. And I'm in a very much a warrior space right now, very much so. And so this sort of resonated far more. The black and the pink is also building up on the sexy energies. I personally think black and pink are the most sexual colour combo that there is. That's my personal feeling. But it's kind of the build-up to Beltane. So that's that build-up of sexual energy. There's also something around the energies of Alder being connected to Bran the Blessed, who lost his head. And his head carried on talking. And he also sort of went looking for the realm of the Fae, and pink is a little bit more of a Fae colour. But it's really, really interesting how masculine this, I'm going to just back out so you can see it. This altar feels masculine to me, which it should, because the Alder is a masculine energy in overarching themes. And it just binds that together, that birth, the sort of the pink flesh of the cut pink flesh, which is horrendous, isn't it, really, when you sit there and think about it. But Alder's tree, when it's cut and it dries, has this pink tone, and it bleeds out red or pink. And Bran the Blessed lost his head, but not his wisdom. And there's a whole symbology behind Bran the Blessed. There's a whole video on Bran the Blessed. Go check that out on my channel. But it's that pinky flesh colour. And so there's the birthing of things, the primal ripping open of the egg and allowing birth to actually take place. So it's a very masculine energy with birthing undertones. So it kind of encompasses both male and female energy. Both fire and water energy is represented here, and I really, really love it. Like I said, you cannot separate Alder from Ostara, and it's Spring Equinox. Ostara is a modern terminology for it, so there you go. Right, so that's the altar cloth explained in my thought process. Obviously there are crows here as well, which speak to Bran the Blessed. Whoop. As well as the Morrigan, of course. Crows in flight. Freaking loving the skulls. Just so Morrigan-y. Right. So over there, as you can see, we have my little bird's nest. And the bird's nest contains crystal eggs for Spring Equinox, because I do like the egg imagery, very much so. The rebirth energy, the sort of tearing open of the shell to allow new life to fly free. And the crystal eggs were a gift from Sharon, so they're very, very special to me. So then we have the usual, we have the water corner and the earth corner and the Morrigan statues and plaque and her little offering bowl back there. There's spirit, there is air, and there is fire. These two big gorgeous pillar candles for each, for the god and the goddess, with pink Himalayan salt at the bottom. This is kind of to balance the fire and the water energy, because although you can argue for the Himalayan salt being an earthier energy, but for me it has a water affiliation. It mixes pink and white, it mixes the colours of the season, and it brings a water balance to the fire candles, so I liked it. And then at the back we have the goddess offering bowl, and she has a little alder seed on a stalk in there. So the chalice well water that my friend Hazel sent me, and there is a garnet in with the amethyst and offering and the little feathers and everything. We'll explain that in a minute. In the female offering bowl, because we got female and then male, is some more alder seeds. These are actually wildcrafted locally. I found an alder tree and there were plenty of seeds on the floor, and I was like, get in. So there you go. In the centre again we have the Morrigan. It's not really, well, it is Morrigan now. Look at the wings. I put the wings in and that was it. It was hers. She's like that, you know. She's like, mine. And I'm like, by all means, mother. So we have the triple goddess with the triple goddess orbs and the crow feathers, and around the base we have the little toadstools back. So I brought the little toadstools back as we venture back into springier seasons. At least we are here. And Bran the Blessed journeyed into the world of the Fae. There is a Fae connection. So toadstools in a ring being entrance to the other world. I like it, so they're there. And then the final thing is the power cauldron, as usual with the labradorite that Sharon's in, and the quartz on its little soapstone triquetra. And around here are 2 red amethyst and then garnet. So amethyst is associated with the alder, but I really wanted the red amethyst rather than the chevron or the paler one. Again, it brings in that red, that alder red, that more power, more potent, more bursting forth of life and lifeblood and all that sort of imagery. And garnet is very much about blood. Right, I feel like so morbid right now, but so excited about how morbid and yet beautiful this altar is. Blood, 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 blood. I want to suck your blood. No, not really. Okay. So the birthstone of March associated with the Ogham is actually ruby. I don't have any rubies. If you want to send me some rubies, by all means. But I don't have any ruby. Not ruby by itself anyway. We've got ruby in feldspar and ruby in lepidolite, but I don't have any rubies. So I have my garnet, my dark blood red garnet. I've been working with them a lot recently anyway. They're very Morrigan-esque, they're very sexual, they're very energy of the blood, and it's basically very blood and pink and red themed in this altar, so it sort of ties into that energy, that root chakra, that connecting to base, ready to move forward. In, you know, you have to be connected at the base and then be born from that in order to grow upwards, I guess is the feeling of it. You have to be born, there has to be blood, there has to be sacrifice and bloodshed, and then new cycles begin. So yeah, I'm super happy, and if you know me, then you're like, she went for pink. I can't believe she went for pink, because this is usually one of the last colours I would probably use, but I did, and I freaking love it. I freaking love it. So it's all alder and spring equinox, and the interconnectedness of the two that cannot be separated and should not be separated. They're just amazing together. So that's it for the seasonal altar video. Many blessings.